Hello, my name's Jess and welcome back to another video about semester at sea. And this video I've been meaning to make for a very long time, and it is about how to find the best hostels and Airbnbs for your trip in every country that you go to. I really think that staying off the ship in hostels and Airbnbs is such a fun part of the semester at sea experience, to stay there with your friends and explore a new city and actually live in the city for a couple of days. So I highly recommend it, and I'm gonna help you know how to do it in this video right now. Alright, so the first thing that you really need to know about going on semester at sea and booking hostels and Airbnbs and places for you to stay is that the Wi-Fi on the ship is no good. So you cannot use your own phone or your own laptop to do this sort of stuff, because you simply won't have enough time with the Wi-Fi they provide for you to do that kind of searching. You do get allotted a certain amount of Wi-Fi every day to use for your phone to go on social media and stuff and maybe text some people, but it automatically shuts off once you use up that amount of data that they provide for you, and then renews the next day. And it's usually not strong enough, or you can't move fast enough to book places to stay on your phone using that small little Wi-Fi allotment. There are 4 computers available for you in the library that have working Wi-Fi at all times. However, if you think about it, there's 500 plus kids on this ship, students, and they all want to book places to stay when they get to the next country, and there's only 4 computers. So there's always a line for these computers, and it's hard to get one, and if you do, there's probably gonna be people lining up behind you waiting for you to be done, so you have to know what you're doing and do it quickly. So what I recommend doing to book the hostels or Airbnbs you want to stay in the next country is to do it in the country before, when you're on land, when you have data. If you have an international plan on your phone, then this means that you can do stuff on your phone when you're on land and actually search things and not have your data run out. Or if you go to a cafe or a coffee shop, they usually have free Wi-Fi available, so you can bring your laptop or use your phone and log on that way and then book things there instead of doing it once you're back on the ship. Additionally, some of my favorite booking websites on the ship were sometimes blocked for some reason. I have no idea why. I feel also Facebook was blocked, someone said. I didn't check, but I feel the older people told me that. They're Facebook doesn't work. And I was all right, that's really sad. But it really did suck when you got back on the ship and you were depending on that time to book an Airbnb or hostel, and it just didn't work. So you can always try it on the ship at one of those 4 computers, but to be prepared, you can also book it beforehand, just so you already have it booked and so you're ready to go once you get there. So the 2 websites that I definitely recommend using, the best ones that I found, are called hostelworld.com and airbnb.com. For those of you that don't know the difference between a hostel and Airbnb, I'm gonna tell you really quickly. Hostels are usually used by young adults, teenagers to 30-ish. There's not usually older people living there, and they're a really cheap and affordable place to stay when you're traveling around, and it's basically a place that's made for travelers. So a lot of times you'll meet a lot of really cool people staying at your hostel from all around the world, because it's a place where young people like to stay. And some hostels have private rooms, or rooms with bunk beds of 4 beds, or sometimes there's 12 beds. So you could either be staying with just your friends in a hostel, or you could be staying with your friends and other people, which might seem kind of weird if you've never done it before, but I swear it's not, because all you do is sleep there, and they have locks for places to put your luggage and stuff so nothing gets stolen, and then you get to meet those people too. It's just one big sleepover, and it's usually split girls and guys. Sometimes it's co-ed, but they'll definitely tell you beforehand so you can sign up for what you're comfortable with. But a lot of hostels have rooms that are private for 4 people, so if you're going with yourself and 3 other friends, or 2 other friends, then you probably won't have to share with bigger groups of people, because you'll have a private room that you guys can fill up on your own. But the really nice thing about hostels is that they're usually $10 a night in every country I went to. The most I paid was probably $13 a night, which is still super cheap, so convenient. I think they're way more expensive in the United States and less popular, but throughout Europe and parts of Africa and South America, they're really quite cheap and really awesome and unique places to stay. And then Airbnbs, maybe you've heard of these as well, but B&B means bed and breakfast, so it's usually a place to stay, and sometimes a breakfast is provided as well. And it can either be someone's apartment that they're renting out, or they can rent out their house too, or it can be a sort of hotel kind of thing, but a cheaper option, a bed and breakfast where you stay for a couple of days. So both are great options. I don't really have a preference between the 2 of them. They're just different experiences, but fun to do both of them depending on how much you want to spend. Airbnbs are usually a little bit more expensive, but not that much if you stay in one that's not super high end. There are ones that are hundreds of dollars per night, but you probably won't be staying in those on your semester at sea voyage anyway. So one kind of cool way to find hostels that people don't really think about is that you can literally look up the best hostels in blank city, okay? So if you were going to Baños, Ecuador, you'd say 10 best hostels in Baños. And some blogger has probably made a list of those, and then you can like look through them and they're all super cool and decide that way. Or you can just look up the nights you're gonna be in the country, how many people are gonna stay there, and type that into Hostel World or Airbnb.com, and all of them will come up and you'll see all the prices and click on them and be able to scroll through pictures and decide which one looks the best to you. My main tip here, okay, this one's really important. You might not think it is, but like once you're actually out there living in the country, it's gonna be so important. But you wanna choose a hostel that's close to a city center and close to things to do, because if you go to a hostel or an Airbnb that's in the middle of nowhere, like why would you want to do that? Then you have to pay for someone to come get you, like an Uber, a taxi, or like a bus even, and then take it back to the place where all the activities are. So it's better to just get a hostel or Airbnb that's in a city center where there's lots to do already, so you don't have to travel back and forth and pay extra for transportation. Along with that, like if you're traveling away from the port city is where the ship ends up after you're coming off the ocean, like where you go into port. If you're traveling away from that into another city further inland or somewhere else in the country, you should think about the public transportation method you're using and then how close your hostel or Airbnb you're renting is to the place where they're going to be dropping you off. Does that make sense? So in Morocco, for example, I took the train from Casablanca to Marrakesh, and then the Airbnb that we stayed in was in the Medina, which is like the old marketplace and the old city of Marrakesh. So outside of that is like more modern. So we walked probably like 2 miles to get from the train station to our Airbnb, or maybe we walked like 3 miles. I remember being very tired at the end of the day and glad I was wearing my tennis shoes. But if it's more than that, from like the place where the transportation is taking you, like a train or a bus, to the place where you're staying the night, like you're not going to be happy because you're going to have to pay for more transportation, like I said, like a taxi or something to get you there. Because if it's over 3 miles, you're probably not going to want to walk it, especially if it's later in the day. So when you're booking places to stay, think about how you're going to get there and what there is to do right next to your hostel or Airbnb, so that you're in a place where there's lots to do and lots to see, and you don't have to take transportation again to get somewhere else to do other stuff. Another really important thing to think about when you're booking a hostel or Airbnb is like what amenities they provide for you. On each website, they're going to say what's provided for you. So they're going to say if they have towels there, and if they have lockers and locks, or if they serve breakfast, or I stayed at one hostel that had like a pool. So be sure to look at all that stuff to know what you need to pack from the ship to bring with you, and if you're getting free breakfast with it. Most of the places I stayed, the breakfast wasn't free, but it was like $1 or something, maybe like $2. It was really inexpensive. So that was really nice to know that we had an option to eat in the place where we were staying before we went on with the rest of our day. And then one more really good tip that I have about staying in hostels or in an Airbnb when you're on semester at sea is that if the price that you're looking at initially is like really high and you're like, oh, like I don't want to spend $50 for one night, think about how many people it sleeps, like the Airbnb that you're renting, because if it sleeps like 5 people, then you split it 5 ways and then you're only paying $10 a night. So sometimes the bigger Airbnbs with multiple rooms and like a full apartment are more expensive, but if you're going with more people, like a big group of people, it's probably not going to be that expensive. And then you'll have like a kitchen you can use and a living room and sometimes like a TV and multiple bedrooms. So it can end up being a really good deal to get a more expensive Airbnb with more rooms and then go with more people and more friends and have like a big friend party kind of thing and have a really good time. So that is just one more thing to keep in mind when you're searching for hostels and Airbnbs on your voyage. So that wraps up this video about semester at sea. I hope it was helpful for you guys. If it was, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.